Good evening. So whilst we're waiting for people to join, we are just going to sit back, have a quiet few moments, drink my tea. So just sink back into the body, guys. Let's have a pause. Have a pause, or if you wish, send over a question, or if you've got any comments, maybe about your practice. Okay. Otherwise, just come into the body, sink into the body. Period of unminding, come out of the mind into the sense, into the body sense, the felt sense of the body. I'm told there's a problem with the video, guys. I can't detect one here. Let's see. Now, there's one person can't see anything, only black. Can somebody else just send me something to say that I can see me or they can't? Is the video working? I've got it switched on. Not that you need. Okay, so let me just try something. Just see if, give me a couple of minutes. Just see if I can sort this, guys. I'm not sure quite what's going on. Yeah, I've got it switched on, so I'm not sure what's going on. Let me switch it off and switch it on again. I'm going to disconnect, guys. So, is that any better? I wonder. If it isn't, guys, we'll just have to continue because I don't know. I can't see anything wrong with it this end. Okay, for somebody webinars jam is not working, I can't participate. Oh, okay. So people are watching it on YouTube. I'm not sure how it all works. Okay, guys. I ain't got a clue. So we're just going to continue. You might be able to hear me anyway. You could even just turn away from the screen. Okay. Close your eyes or even, just your back to the screen if you wish. So I want you to come into the body. Just have a sense of your mood. So as long as you can hear me, guys, that's the most important thing. I don't know what's wrong with it, so I'm not going to mess about anymore. So let's just drop into the body, just come into the felt sense of the body, sensing your mood. And you notice there's a movement of the body as it breathes. Hillary, can you hear me? I don't want to spend too long on this. Just let me know. If you can hear me, that's all you need to do. You don't need to see me, Maria. Just listen. If you can't see it, forget it. Just listen. Okay? I would stop messing about with it. Something's not working. Okay. Okay, so apparently you can see me on YouTube. Technology. So come into the body. How does the body feel? Maybe even close the eyes for a few moments. Most of the working day, our attention goes out, so let's bring it in for a few minutes. Listening to any sounds. Sensing any bodily sensations. And a quiet few moments. I'm going to invite any questions. Start off with any questions you may have, or comments, observations about your practice. Use this next 60 minutes or so, guys. Use it as a space to contact yourself. Okay? To be in the body. Use it as a time of presence. Come into the body. When we're present, it's a time for healing. It heals our life. We'll go into say a bit more about compassion later as we go through, but I also want to do some exercises around the compassionate heart. Okay. So we have a question. Last time you mentioned the core beliefs. For example, I'm no good, I'm invisible, I'm useless. And I was thinking, how do we change those core beliefs to the more empowering beliefs? Do you believe in positive affirmations alongside mindfulness? Or is it enough just to become aware about those negative core beliefs and they change naturally? I don't do affirmations myself. I think they're very limited. See, a core belief is something, it's like an iceberg. It has a depth right down into the water. What you see is, of the iceberg is, I don't know what very, I'll come to you, Louise, in a little bit. You see very little of the iceberg. And the rest of the iceberg goes right deep into the depths of the ocean. And our core beliefs are deep in our being. So just saying to yourself, I am lovely, I am beautiful, I am this, I am that. In my experience and in the mindfulness tradition, we don't go in for those. Because they can be quite, I'm going to be frank, I think they're superficial. Okay? We need to work with that depth of energy, that emotional depth, because that is what's running the show. Just put a nice little pink plaster over it, like I'm wonderful, I'm great. It doesn't touch it. The healing needs to be done on an emotional level, on a feeling level. So what we do, we become aware of our core beliefs, how we, those core beliefs are something like, for those who weren't listening last week, our core belief mine used to be, I'm no good. I am no good. So what I did, and what I still do, I used it in meditation. I would speak to that, but I would welcome the part of me that doesn't feel good. We can do it this evening. Something similar. The part of me that didn't feel good, I would welcome it. I would feel it deep within. It's just just a something. And as I spend time with it, something begins to heal, something begins to awaken. And an image actually came with it. An image doesn't always come, but an image came with it of a young boy, myself as a young boy, laid in the corner of a bedroom with a sack over him, hiding. So I just spent time with that feeling. And that I'm no good manifested in my behavior. I would shirk away from people. It was in my posture. Not that I never laughed. But I didn't look people in the eyes so much. And I didn't feel like I wanted to bother people because I'm no good. That was how I related in the world. I didn't feel good about myself. So I didn't plaster over with affirmation, but I learned to feel that part of me that wasn't good. Now we can do something around that tonight if you wish. Okay, but first of all, it's not pleasant. You have to be willing to feel a little bit of unpleasant. So they change quite naturally because awareness is a transformational agent. So as awareness comes into contact, as it were, with that part of us, something begins to heal, something begins to change and transform. It's like the sun in winter. At the end of winter, the sun starts to warm the land, and everything comes alive again. And that young boy started to wake up and to speak and to feel better about himself because he was being welcomed. Okay. So there's something from Louise. In the new book, I love the story about the mustard seed. Bury your dead and get on with your life. Very simple but direct. Can that relate to dead habits, dead fears, dead guilt? So I'll just read that again for those who didn't hear. In the new book, I love the story about the mustard seed. Bury your dead and get on with your life. Very simple but direct. Can that relate to dead habits, dead fears, dead guilt? So what I'm thinking you're pointing to is how we have habits, don't we? Being guilty becomes a habit. Let's talk in terms of parts of us. I think it's easier. So a part of it, we have a part that feels guilty. We have a part that feels afraid. We have a part that feels, a part that feels guilty, a part that feels afraid. We have a part that feels not very good. A part that feels ashamed. Now, what we do, we don't bury those, we do the opposite. We try and bury them. What happens is they just become stronger. What Kisa Gautam was doing in that reading, she was burying her natural grief. She couldn't come to terms with it. So what we do is we allow the guilty part to come forth, to come out, so that it gets seen. And that is the area of what we do with voice dialogue and mindfulness. Because these parts, the guilty part, the perfectionist part, the critical part, the critical voice part, they run our life. They live our life for us. That's what they do. They're in the driving seat. So we bring them into the light of awareness. Then they can't run our life so much. They've been seen. So we invite them in. And we feel that guilt in the body and notice what thought processes it uses. That's why we label our thoughts. You don't have to be exact about this. Exactly use these thoughts. As we go about our meditation and our life, we label this is thinking. Gosh, that's the 5th time in 2 minutes I've thought that. And we see that again and again, and we take attention away from it into the body. We begin to loosen their power. But actually bring the guilty one in. Say hello to the guilty one. Hello, guilty one. We must do it tonight. This has come up. We must do it, okay? I also tried that, and I often see a young me who is very sensitive, and there's this kindergarten adult who looks, See, the child is being mistreated. I don't mean abused necessarily, but every child is very sensitive, and even a look can make us. So, we all grow up with some wounds, and we have to bring those wounds into awareness for them to heal. Keep them hidden, they don't heal. I bury, does it mean let go, stop clinging to them? What it really means is notice how you cling to those thoughts. Notice those thoughts when they're there. Forget about letting go. Notice, observe those thoughts and take your attention away from them. And take your attention into the body. But it's really good to get to know how they function, how they came into being, how they function. You don't have to do it this way. It can be all be done with mindfulness practice, to practice well, thoughts, body sensations. But I also use voice dialogue, which I think is a great way of getting to know these specific subpersonalities and how they function. So let's do some. I want to start off with, I just want to give you a taste of it first of all. What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask to speak to your wild one. Okay? I'll come back, Mary, but I just want to go with this for a while. When I ask to speak to your wild one, I want you to just shift in your seat. You don't need to look at me because some of you can't see me anyway. You just need to respond to the questions I ask you. Okay? Can I speak to the wild one, please? Shift in your seat. Hello. Speak to me. Just speak to this blank screen. Doesn't matter. So you're the wild one. Yeah. So are you around much in the life of the self? Would you like to be around more in the life of the self? So if you were around more as the wild one, what would you bring to the life of the self? Yeah. Wildness, energy, power, anything else? What would you bring? Strength. And what would you like this? What would you like to do? What would you like the self to allow you to do? What would you like to do? Say you have a free couple of hours tomorrow. What would you like to do as the wild one? Yeah. Great. Where do you live in the body of the self? Lovely. And how do you make the body feel when you're present, like now? You'd be good for the self, wouldn't you, if you're around more? You bring energy. Absolutely. What difference would you make to the life of the self? Say a bit more about that. What difference would you make if you're around, say, another 20% in his or her life? Okay. Thank you very much. Can I speak to the self again, please? Okay. Okay. Now, just send over any comments, guys, any observations about that. Because this is the voice dialogue. This is the getting to know these different parts. And the wild part is something that tends to be in essential when we're young. And then as we grow up, we can become overly responsible. And the wild one gets banished. And so we lose a lot of our spontaneity, a lot of our energy, our enthusiasm. I just want to know if it worked for people, if that part was that. I love this dialogue with my wild part. I felt so connected to my strength and power and authenticity. But the question is how to bring this to your everyday. I don't feel often connected to that part, but I would love to. You have to be patient, Mario. We can't do this in one session. So what we do, the reason we ask, let me backtrack. The wild one is only a part. We're not wanting it to take over. We're wanting it to flavour our life, uplifting and freedom. Lovely. We want these parts to flavour our life, and maybe an hour a week, 2 hours a week, we give it more. It might be dancing, it might be swimming in the loch, or it might be I don't know, whatever it is for you. Yeah, that was strange. Found myself feeling very giddy and almost giggling. Felt confident. Yeah, see, this part of us, it's a strength. It's a wildness. It doesn't care. I don't mean it doesn't care. I mean it doesn't worry. It's just like, let's go for it. That's what this part is. And so what we do as we speak to it in this way, as we get to know it, I'm going to do a series of webinars on this voice dialogue, okay? After the new year. I just want to, yeah. But what we do, once we start to get to know it, how it feels in the body, its voice, as we get to know it over days, weeks, we know how to access it. We know how to listen to it. It can be there on a more of an everyday basis. But also what we do is we work with that keeps it banished. It may be the controller. Can you see the connection? The controller. Wild? Wildness? No wildness. Yeah. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's actually, it can be quite painful for some of us. Okay. So although we speak to the positive, that the wild one, compassionate heart, we do have to speak to those other parts as well and see how they function. And they don't feel so good. There's a question from Mara that I will come back to. It's a slightly different. So, a subpersonality that often keeps the wild one out is, we could call the controller. Okay. Lack of trusting, yeah. We don't trust these energies. See, we did when we were young, you know, and we lose trust in them. We almost get educated out of them. So now, what we're doing is learning to trust in them. Actually, they're good for me. They're our life force. By speaking to that side of us, the self would have heard that and hopefully registered the need for more. Why? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it just good to know that that part isn't dead? And each person's wild part, maybe you give it an hour a week to have its glory. One person might be to go dancing, another person might be to listen to heavy metal, another person might be to listen to punk music from years ago, another person might be to swim in a loch, might be to go for a run. We don't know. When we get in touch with it, it begins to affect our life. But it doesn't take over because there are other parts. And there's the everyday self who functions all this, who registers all this and works with it all. I think that's what keeps it banished. Yeah. Controller. So let's do some work on the controller. Okay. Just for a few minutes, I just want you to get a sense of how the controller can control things. But this is essential. We get to know what imprisons us, what keeps us acting in these ways, that keeps these other energies sort of out of awareness, out of everyday life. So, can I speak to the controller, please? Shift in your seat. Hello. So you're the controller. Speak to me. Yeah. I know you're all there. So you're the controller. Yeah. Are you around much in the life of the self? Yeah. And how long have you been around? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what effect do you have on the life of the self? Tell me. Have your moment. Yeah. How do you make the self feel when you're here in the body, like now? Rigid? Tense? Anxious? Say more. How do you make the self feel? Okay. Yeah. How do you do what you do? What thoughts do you use to control the self? Which are your favourite phrases? What do you keep telling the self? Where do you live in the body? Okay. And all these thoughts, these things that you tell the self, if the self didn't believe you, what would happen? Tell me about your purpose. What is your purpose in the life of the self? So one last question. If you stood outside of the self here, what would you look like? Okay. Thank you very much. Can I speak to the self again, please? Okay, guys. Now that will be a very different experience. But please again, send over any comments, any observations. And I hope you see why we do this. We really get to see for ourselves firsthand just what these subpersonalities get up to. And let's just have a few moments pause, see if anything comes over. If you're not quite out of that, just the control, just stand up and just stretch, and it's going to be quite powerful. There's one here from somebody very powerful and uncomfortable. My control is massive. Absolutely. It is in most of us. Most of us in the I've done it with people from other cultures, and they have different selves function. And the control is very, seems to be very strong in our culture. But as we get to know in this way, see, the reason we ask the questions we do is that so we get to know them. Do you see what we're doing? If it tells you what thought it uses, how it makes you feel in the body, then you know that, you become familiar with it. This is the control. And as we go on, we ask more sort of searching questions about it. Or then it begins, it realizes it's not needed. It tells you that I'm here because the self won't look after itself. Then it begins to trust. It begins to loosen its grip. Because it's protecting something. I felt resistance from the controller to do the practice. Yeah, it can be that strong. This is the first time I've done the controller, so that happens a lot. Okay. If I was getting very tense and almost confrontational in response to the questions, felt indignant. Yeah. Because in a sense it's being seen. That's why I didn't keep you there too long, guys. Because it can be quite uncomfortable. See, we're all here talking about how tight and rigid it felt compared to the wild one. It felt very tight and rigid and wanted to keep me safe and alert about possible threats. It was in my solar plexus and throat area, and it looked like a police with a whistle. Yeah, a policeman with a whistle. But they're there to look after us, so we're not trying to get rid of them, okay? Because people who haven't got a controller can be dangerous. Or can be a danger to themselves. We need the controller. But what they do, they just become overactive. overly concerned, overly controlling. So what we do, we just weaken what needs to be weakened. And this happens quite naturally as we go through the practices. So just shake yourself off that, okay? But if we do this work more long term, we do have to speak to those selves, those subpersonalities. We can't avoid them. Let's just have a few moments of quiet. Just come back down into the body. If your body still feels tense or rigid, just feel it now. Just being with the breath. That's just a few quiet moments. That's it. Hear the wind, just listen to the wind. Or just feel the breath. Take your attention to your heart area, your heart center. How does it feel in there? Keep sensing into the heart. And drop in the phrase something like, may I be well, may I be happy. Just drop it in. May I find peace. May I have a good life. Just drop it in. Okay. So I just want to cover a question here that came a little bit earlier. Now I want to go back to, I want to do a little bit more work with the compassionate heart. It's nice to end things on a more positive note, obviously. Getting in touch with something that's more positive. Do you have any tips around when difficult emotions arise, for example, at the workplace with other people, and there's no time or possibility to do a meditation on your own? How to handle a difficult emotion then on the spot? So, let's say somebody has just criticised you, or shouted at you, or said or done something that's unpleasant. Okay? So what happens? We have a wave of emotion, don't we? We just want to react. We just want to hit back. Okay? Now, we can't control somebody else's behaviour. It's not them we're concerned with this, okay? Particularly. We have to befriend our breath. Now, what I mean is that emotion to attack rises like a wave. And a wave rises up, and then what does it do? It reaches its peak, then crashes. What we have to do, we have to learn to ride the wave of the emotion, to stay steady, to stay stable, to stay in the middle of it. It's called the middle way. We stay in the middle of the emotion. We don't repress it, and we don't act it out necessarily, unless it's appropriate. So, someone says something to me, and I feel like I want to attack back. So I just take a few moments just to, and you don't do this with your eyes closed, or you don't sit in meditation. You do it there and then, because it's real. It's real life. It comes up, and if I've got any awareness about me, I can feel it. I identify it. and it just wants to attack back. I have to learn to ride it. And then once the wave of emotion crashes, then, and it's not very long, it's only a few seconds, then we may decide to walk away and clear our head for a bit, or after the emotions crashed, we can then go back and say something that's a bit more considered, or not. But we have to learn to ride that wave. So feel it rise, and notice your thoughts. Having a thought, I just want to, whatever it is, okay? So it's learning to ride the wave of the emotion. And you go, it's very, very quick. We want to. That's why even just during the day, walking up the stairs, we learn to be with the breath. Okay? That's what we do. So I just want to say a little bit about what would it be like if we instead of seeing people as good or bad, good or evil, instead of seeing them through judgments in that way, what if we saw people and life in terms of suffering and ending suffering? So instead of focusing on somebody's negative action, what if we could see that it came from suffering? How would it change us? And this is connected with what you were saying, that question, Mary, but it's a more long-term solution. We have to. It's a series of reflections that I want to share with you. So what we see, and it's with ourselves. That's why we get critical with ourselves. What we see is just the top-end behaviour, that momentary behaviour, or that momentary comment or opinion that someone's thrown at us. What we see is just that. We don't see the building blocks, the days, the weeks, the months, the years that have built up to this, that have created that character, that have created that level of suffering from which this comes, from which this evolves. What happened if just a few minutes each day we just reflected on someone's behaviour and how it may have come about? So somebody's criticised us, genuinely criticised us, not in a constructive way, but what's led up to that? When we criticise somebody, because we do the same thing, it's not just an isolated, something's led up to it. It might be because we haven't stuck up for ourselves in the past. So there's something to learn there. They might be having a really hard time at home. Their wife or husband might have cancer. Let's get real. Let's not fluffy about here. We don't know what's going on. And so just a few minutes a day to reflect on what could have led to this behaviour. So we see things in not as good and bad, but as this person's suffering. It doesn't mean to say we don't tell them off if they need that, or sometimes we need telling off. There are building blocks. Okay. Good just to look behind the curtain. It's not always easy because we just want to protect ourselves and react. It's automatic. Okay. So we're going to, our last exercise, we're going to just look at the compassionate heart. That's what we're going to call it, the compassionate heart. It's there in all of us. Can I speak to the compassionate heart, please? Hello, so you're the compassionate heart. Speak to me. Lovely. Good. Good. Are you around much in the life of the self, in his or her life? Okay. Would you like to be around more? Of course you would. You'd be good for him or her, wouldn't you? If you were around more, what would you bring to the life of the self? Yeah. Anything else? What else would you bring? We've called you the compassionate heart, but can you show us where you live in the body and how you feel in the body? That's it. Lovely. And what's your purpose? Do you have one? How do you make the self feel when you're here, right now? If you were stood here outside of the self, what would you look like? How can you be more present in the life of the self? Is there anything you'd like to say to him or her? Any guidance, words of guidance? Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Can I speak to the self again, please? So send any comments over, guys, if you if you wish. If you got a sense of that, so beautiful, calm, compassionate part, it said it would want to bring people more together and bring this deep connection and understanding. It said just trust. Simple, isn't it? When you hear it from the source like that. You hear it from the source. So as we loosen the power of these, the ones who are living our life for us, we call them the dominant selves, the controller, the perfectionist, the critic. When we begin to loosen them, these naturally, the more benign and loving, softer energies naturally come more forth. Not just the soft ones, the courageous one. That's a good one to speak to, the courageous one. Wonderful energy behind it. So is there anything else you want to mention, guys? Do pop it over. For one last, it's a different type of exercise I want to finish with. Okay. So what I want to finish on, visualization. So I want you to close your eyes. Yes. Authentic. So you close your eyes and imagine you walking slowly along a beach or a field, whatever nice place for you. And as you're walking along, sauntering, enjoying the sunshine and the warmth, up ahead you see a figure walking towards you slowly in the distance, but you can't quite make it out. You get a little closer and you realise this figure is walking very serenely. You notice what clothing it has on, this being, man or woman. And then something dawns on you. You realise that this being is your wise guide. It's your deep wisdom. You're closer still. You notice the face and the hands. Then you get closer still. And you're standing in front of each other, just a few feet apart. You notice the serene smile, the kind eyes. You're standing in the presence of your wise guide. And you ask your wise guide a question, something like, what should I do next? Or how should I live my life? And your wise guide gives you a gift. The wise guide turns around and begins just to saunter away. And you open the gift, you see what the gift is in relation to your question. Now don't think about it too much. Just see what that is in response to your question. It may not make any sense right now, but just take it into the heart, take it into the intuition. Send anything over if you wish before we end, guys, if you want to. I do that just very occasionally, maybe only a few times a year, but I just do it just to, because there's something unusual often happens. I'd love to do it like that, really. What does that mean? It's not what my rational mind expected. Okay, guys, I think we're going to leave it there. Okay. I think we've done enough. I've had quite a full day. I've been leading a teacher training retreat. I had a little break, and then yes, so I think I'm ready for a little bit of dinner. Okay. Thank you very much. I love these webinars. They're always so beautiful. Thanks, Mario. Thank you very much. And we'll see you soon, won't we, on the Who's Living Your Life retreat. Thank you. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.